Hey guys, Scott here. Today we're going to be talking about Dracula. I've turned off the blur because there's a very rare being behind us, and I'm not going to waste that opportunity to display here. But Dracula, I've had a problem with him for a while now. Ever since they buffed his bat form, his entire existence just sort of invalidates the spirit. So we're at this scenario where he essentially is just a better spirit, but then also has powers on top of that. And in my opinion, it doesn't really make any sense. So I want to go over the actual numbers and explain why this is kind of stupid in my opinion, and what we can do to make it feel a bit more fair. Now, I don't think that Dracula needs to necessarily be nerfed overall. I think his power needs to shift between his individual powers. Because as it stands right now, a lot of his shit is just better than the killers whose powers it's similar to. And that doesn't make any sense considering he has 3 of them. So let's go over the main problem, I think, which is the bat form. So if we compare bat form to Spirit's phasing, Bat form is better than Spirit's phasing, just outright. It's Spirit's entire power, but Bat form is just one of 3 powers, and it's better than Spirit's phasing. So the only thing Spirit has that's actually better is the fact that Spirit can't attack immediately out of phasing. Other than that, almost every single thing is just better and in Dracula's favor. Now, don't get me wrong, the ability to swing immediately instead of having to wait the 2 seconds is a pretty big deal at a lot of loops, and it will be the difference between you, getting a hit and not getting a hit. But that assumes that the killer has no other power. He doesn't have a wolf form, and he doesn't have, a hellfire attack. So if it was just a standalone thing, then yes, Spirit would probably come, not even that. I would say Spirit still comes down on bottom, because let's actually go over what the bat form allows you to do. So first of all, the Spirit just moves at 110 movement speed, and Dracula is just a normal movement speed killer. So roughly the same power, but one is just faster by default. Now, Spirit moves, I think, at like 7 meters a second while in her phase form, but Dracula moves at like 6.5 or something. It's barely noticeable difference in terms of it being slower. So the speeds are roughly the same, and Dracula can also just straight up fly over pallets, fly over windows. He can teleport to windows and pallets. He has insane hinder add-ons for when you do those actions, which are borderline overpowered in my opinion. And he can hear footsteps louder. He's got like sort of a built-in Strider effect. And by far, the most important thing in comparison to Spirit is he has no cooldown. There's no cooldown at all, and I think that is the most pressing issue. Spirit's cooldown has been sort of nerfed over time a lot. So there used to be a weird interaction with the duration add-ons for Spirit where it would actually unintentionally make her cooldown quicker as well. But they fixed that a while ago. So basically all you have now is like Rusty Flute, which is the cooldown reduction add-on. And with that, her cooldown is insanely long. I don't know if you've played Spirit recently, but you basically have to choose, are you going to use it for map traversal or are you going to use it for chase power? You can't really choose both, because if you just use all of your power to get to a chase to start it, then you got to wait 10-15 seconds before you can actually use the power again. But if you just waddle your 110% movement speed ass over to it and then use your power to down people, well, then you've wasted a bunch of time just walking there as a slower killer. So that also sucks. So the cooldown reduction, or the cooldown nerfs that she's gotten over time have definitely made her weaker before. And I think she's in a really good place balance-wise now, by the way. I still think she's a really strong killer. A good Spirit is going to win almost every single one of their games, but she is notably more balanced, in my opinion, than, her original form with, prayer beads being silent mother-daughter rank. She had insanely broken shit. Let's just not dance around the fact that she was super busted. But, they have nerfed her a lot now. And because of that, we have a Dracula who is just, he has that already existing power, but he just does everything. Not everything, but most things better. And I think that's the main issue. It's the cooldown. The fact that it has just no cooldown at all. Like, I'm not even talking about the transitioning speed. I'm talking about the fact that you can just go into bat form as many times as you want with no real ramifications or downside. You can hit someone, go to bat form, fuck something up, go into bat form. They stun you with pallet, go into bat form. Like, there's no stopping you from just repeatedly doing this over and over and over again. Additionally, you can actually like kick generators in this form, so it's not even something Spirit can do where she's phasing around the map, still having map pressure. Like, it just doesn't make any sense why the cooldown is non-existent, and even the transition speed is so short on Dracula. One of those things, in my opinion, has to change. Now, maybe the 5-second cooldown that it used to have in the original version, maybe that's not enough. Maybe we do like, 3.5 seconds or 4 seconds, but like the 2 point something seconds that it has right now, it's too strong. That, or we need to buff Spirit again. Whatever option you take. I don't really care how you view the situation. You have to pick one of them. You can't have a world where you have Spirit here, and then you have Bat Form here, but Bat Form is better than Phase in almost every single way, and then he also has 2 other powers as well. It just doesn't make any sense in my opinion. So what I would like to see is some of the Bat Form power taken away and put into the dog form, because the dog form is just absolutely not nearly as good as the other forms, and I think that's one of the main problems there. The Bat form is just so much stronger than the dog form. You basically just play Dracula and Bat form and ignore the dog form. So what I would really like to see is the dog form given some form of benefit in some way. Kind of like maybe we can make it so you don't have to use both charges of the lunge. Maybe you could save, if you shoot one of the lunges off, because there's 2 lunges, if you shoot one of them off, maybe you realize, I shouldn't have done that, and then you can stop it, and then maybe refund half your cooldown or something like that, because the cooldown of the lunge, despite being the weakest power, is the longest. It's got a longer cooldown than the other 2 powers combined, which makes no sense considering it is by far the weakest power that Dracula actually has. So I don't understand why the balancing is so wonky there. I think Bat form needs a longer cooldown, or pick one, a longer transition time, so you can't just swing 2 seconds later, or an actual cooldown to where you actually have to wait a little bit before you are able to use the Bat form again. I'm not even talking a long one, just 5 seconds or something like that. Just a short little thing, just so Spirit has something better. And again, we haven't even touched the whole teleporting to pallets and windows and the insanely busted hinder add-ons. We haven't even touched that shit. Spirit's got nothing that good anymore. So that is, I think, what they should do. Again, there's a bunch of things you can do with the wolf form. I think you should make it so you can only do 1 dash at a time and refund some cooldown, or maybe just make the dashes longer, give them more control, whatever. I don't care. I don't care what they do to the wolf form. Just give more power to wolf form and take power away from the Bat form. There's no reason that he should have Spirit's phase, but better in almost every single way. It's sort of ridiculous. We haven't even touched on Hellfire yet, which is better than half the powers that's similar to as well. I feel like it's just better than Nemesis's Tentacle. It's better than Pyramid Head. It's just got a shorter cooldown. It's got less penalties for missing. It can be held better. It's just basically he just has better powers than a bunch of killers that have similar powers, but he also has multiple of them. So in my opinion, Vecna is more of a killer that has 3 powers, but they're more fair. None of them are inherently super OP. Some are pretty underwhelming to interact with the survivor, but they're not blatantly overpowered or anything like that. So I don't really have much of an issue with it. It's just, we can do, multiple powers fine, but the individual powers should not be notably stronger than the powers that they're copying or being similar from. It just doesn't really make any sense in my opinion. So, I mean, those are my thoughts. Now, they did say in November that we would be getting a nerf for some type of Dark Lord change or something like that. I'm saying nerf because I'm 99% sure it's going to be nerf. I would be flabbergasted if they buffed Dracula after all this. But we do know he's being changed in November, so I'm willing to bet a lot of this stuff will actually take place anyway, probably before I'm even having, a comment or impact on it. So if that happens, don't blame me for it. I'm just saying they've already probably done a lot of this stuff, and I think that's good. But yeah, I just wanted to go over this. I feel like Spirit has been sort of left in the dust, so either buff Spirit or nerf Bat form. It doesn't really make any sense for these powers to both coexist at the same time when one killer has it being their entire power. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Dracula. Bat form, a little overtuned. Hellfire is also still really good, but whatever, you can leave it. And then wolf form needs to be buffed a bit. So do this. That's kind of what I want to see. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.